Time for a little update on Night Rider's cousin. This actually isn't the same scooter as I made the first review video on, although it technically is. I ended up buying 3 of them. I liked the first one so much, it was kind of the test of this particular factory that doesn't even list these for sale anymore, but just to kind of test what they would do, what we could expect from them. So I got 2 more, and essentially what I want to talk about is how these scooters are awesome, and at the same time they all are different and they all have different little problems, as you would expect from a Chinese factory that's not outputting some sort of like brand or you got a warranty problem or you're buying the parts. That's what kind of brand it is. But example on this one, there was no reason to have this sort of shipping damage right here where this is broken. This had nothing to do with the actual shipping, but yet this is broken. I have no clue how it got broken in shipping. It wasn't anywhere near the edge of the box. This was in a welded steel frame, which kind of cool, get a bunch of free steel with it. But they all had little problems like that. Another one of them had the body on this side that was broken. The other one had, let's see, what was it? They all had little body damage somewhere here and there. The 2 new scooters have different controllers than the first one did, which it's kind of nice because it has more low-end pep, but it's also audibly noisier. I can hear that they're different. I can also feel on the butt dyno that they're different as well, that this one just pulls a little bit harder, a little bit different, even though the battery is smaller, which is kind of a weird surprise, but maybe that's because the battery was so heavy. Maybe, but it's a different controller. Either way, I can hear that is different. This particular bike also has a warped front rotor, so when you get on the brakes, the entire thing just starts kind of shaking. It's kind of cool. Let's see. The battery is down in here, right? So the only thing holding these in are some metal straps that just sit right across. They threaded in some bolts and then just freaking cut them off. And those studs are what the little metal piece sits on. And when I go over bumps, you can hear them rattling in there because this plastic piece is the only thing that is holding everything down. And I'm not going off of big jumps. I don't expect the battery to jump out or anything, but just as something to know about when you're getting random scooters from random Alibaba manufacturers. The 2 scooters that came, yeah, they had the studs in there with a bunch of metal parts. There was freaking extra metal parts to like rattling around in the bottom where the battery was. And you can't bolt them down either. They just rattle on those studs. You got 2 studs and then you got a metal bar just rattling the entire time. Pain in the butt on there. The complaint that I have is also that these 2 new scooters, they use, what do you call it, IEC plug? It's the 120 volt to 240 volt power supply plug that would go into like the back of your computer or most modern TVs. That's the plug they're using to pull power off the battery. It's also the charging plug right here. Problem number 1 that I have with this, a kid that doesn't know any better, or an adult that doesn't know any better, could literally grab an IEC cord, EIC, whatever it is. They could grab one of these power supply cords, plug it into the charging port or to the battery, have a live end on it that was the DC voltage of whatever that is, and then plug it into an AC socket. This is a bad idea. This is a really, really bad idea. So, just random house fire, whenever you feel like it, is at your fingertips, literally. The other problem is that they're using that to discharge off the battery into all the rest of the components. And this is, a 15 amp max sort of plug, and it looks kind of like a low quality one at that, so I wouldn't even give it that. I get heat from the 8 amp charger. I get heat on this at the plug juncture. So obviously it's not enough. And we're talking about scooters that have, a 40 amp controller on them. If you're going up a hill and you're at full throttle, you're going to be hitting those battery amp limits the entire time. And if that's pulling for 40 amps for, a minute or 2 straight, that's probably going to have some problems. Not to mention just the voltage drop that's going to be happening on something that is poor enough to heat up like that. So again, when you buy a random Alibaba scooter from a random Alibaba manufacturer, these are the things that you can expect. Now on the first scooter, they use the 45 amp power poles or whatever, the power pole connector that is used on forklifts. Beefy, obviously enough for a forklift. They rate them at 40 amps or 45 or 55, whatever it is. I don't remember. Comment down below if you know which one I'm talking about. At any rate, it doesn't heat up with like 120 amps continuous for 30 seconds or so. They've got these big beefy connectors. The contactors are almost the size of my pinky. And the way that they go together, it's like a kind of a spring mechanism on the inside. Far, far better than this little bad pin. So I got to rewire the other ones if I don't want potential problems down the road. So it's work. You know, there's always going to be some level of effort when you get into these just random scooters. Other problems that they had, the connectors on the headlights in there. We've had both of these so far. It comes with this only bolted on slightly. You have to take it off so you can like bolt this down, but this entire front shroud has to be bolted on, and when you do that, it actually ends up pulling on the headlight harness. And both units, we've had the harness pins come out to where you either get a headlight that's just turning on and off, or you just don't get a headlight. This one has no headlight right now because one of the pins decided to rattle out. So you have to go in, you take all the pins out of the header, hopefully notating which ones go into which spot on the plug body, and then you have to like bend the hasp open more so when you insert it that it'll actually give a little click into it and not pull back out when you push the connectors together. I could probably go on and on about all the little things on this, but I'll just leave it at that. Final note is that I do love these. They're not as peppy as the Sur-Ron, but they were also less than half the price of the Sur-Ron. It has a lot of storage. I've been riding them every single day that I possibly can. My kids love to go ride trips with me on this. And when I say trips, I mean 3 people on there, otherwise riding dubs if it's just the daughter. But 2 kids on there, probably about 200, near 300 pounds now total with both kids plus me. Oh, more than 300. Yeah, more than 300 pounds now. And it's a little pokey, but it does just fine. Once you get up to speed, it'll actually take steep hills no problem. Trying to start from the bottom of the hill though with no speed, it doesn't quite have the nuts to do it. It needs a little bit more phase amps on the programming, but you can't program these controllers for it, so you need an aftermarket one, which wouldn't work with any of the other parts on the vehicle. So we would be like any other bike hacking where we lose the usefulness of almost everything. Yeah, I told you I was going to stop talking and I didn't, so I'll leave you with that. If you do have any questions about them, post them down below and I'll do my best not to get mad about it. I do thank you for tuning in. Have a good day.